Steelers.com. Steelers Nation, we wake up this morning with a new quarterback running the show, even if it's not official. Mitchell Trubisky is on his way to the Pittsburgh Steelers, intended to sign on Wednesday for a 2-year, $14 million deal, upwards of $27 million if he becomes the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Donnie, I've been all smiles for about 24 hours now. I'm feeling beautiful. I got my Mitchell Trubisky jersey on the way. I was going to go get it today, but we had to move the podcast up. It's a beautiful sunny day here in the Berg. How you feeling, my friend?
I've tried really hard, and I mean really hard, to remain rational, to look at both sides of the coin, and it's hard. It's very hard. I would love to get into the pros and cons with you of signing Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not happy, nor should anybody be happy.
I'm thrilled.
It's 7 o'clock right now on the West Coast. Life is terrible. I wish I had a time machine to go back in time and not wake up this morning, but here we are. The only thing saving me is I still have my signed TJ Watt jersey. Only thing saving me, which
just
may
sitting on your lap,
which may potentially be a giveaway in the future for all Steelers if we hit like 40,000 subscribers in the next week.
Do you have the TJ Watt jersey just sitting on your lap, hoping?
No, I'm located in the closet right now. The wifey's working, so I was relegated to the bedroom.
Wife's working at 7 a.m., huh? That's a hard worker there. Let me tell you how my day's been. You're feeling a little down. You're feeling a little sad. I've been pushing the Mitchell Steelbitsky train here for a whole week, maybe more than a week, saying this guy has all the upside that the Steelers need right now. He has
for what?
All the intangibles that the Steelers want in a bridge quarterback. He's not Mason Rudolph, and he's going to be cheap. You want to know what all the arguments were against me? He's not good enough. He's another Mason Rudolph. He's going to be expensive. Let's go over what happened here. Mitchell Steelbitsky signed a 2-year contract worth $14 million. Easy peasy money if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got $27 million walking into free agency. You're thinking, okay, we need a guy who could compete with Mason Rudolph, might be a little better than Mason Rudolph, but can't be Mason Rudolph, and he can't be expensive. 2 years, $14 million. Then you're thinking, okay, well, if I'm Mitchell Trubisky, I want a starting job somewhere, at least an opportunity to be starting quarterback again in the NFL. I was once a playoff quarterback 2 years in a row. I was a Pro Bowler less than 5 years ago. I'm only 27 years old. So you're going, okay, we'll give you some incentives. You become the next starting future quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can make $27 million over the next 2 years. Still a easy peasy steal for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now he walks into the summer. You don't have to worry about a quarterback in the first round. You don't have to worry about making a stretch in a loaded draft class to go get somebody like Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral, which you have no idea if they're going to pan out. You got Mitchell Steelbitsky. There are some concerns Deshaun Watson's going to end up in Cleveland, but the Pittsburgh Steelers woke up this morning with a much better quarterback situation than they went to bed 2 nights ago, and I'm feeling fantastic about it. I can't read any of these comments, so
much better is very subjective, I feel like, but I would agree with you that the Steelers feel like they improved the quarterback room, and to a certain extent, I probably do agree. I'd love to get into the other quarterback talk. Joey Jr., from your lips to God's ears, brother. I'd love to get into the other quarterback talk with you a little bit down the road, but I do kind of want to stay on the Trubisky train right now. His cap hit's only like $4 million this year, and then it's expected to increase next year when the cap is expected to skyrocket. I don't have a problem. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I think financially that was probably the best way to go about it. When you look at other contracts that the Steelers would have had to incur at the quarterback position, when you look at rumors of them potentially going to get Jimmy Garoppolo, when you look at the mega Deshaun Watson deal, and then obviously, guys like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, all the other quarterbacks who would have came with a heavy price tag, I think it was very apparent from the start that the Steelers were not looking to spend big money at the quarterback position, knowing that none of the guys on the roster right now, or none of the guys they felt like they could afford, were going to be the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback position. Now, that being said, I'm still not a fan of the Trubisky signing, but I do want to look at some positives for it. Number one, you got the guy on the cheap deal. Number two, he's still relatively young, and we have to remember he was a former number 2 overall pick. He's obviously coming here to be a starter, right? I mean, there's no way they're signing him to that deal for him to sit behind Mason Rudolph. But you know what? If Mason Rudolph somehow beats him, and if Rudolph is pushed by the presence of Trubisky, unlike he was like the presence of Haskins, then maybe the $4 million price tag is worth it. And I'm sure the Steelers somehow, some way can get out of the deal after the 2022 season. He has an athletic profile. Everybody still really likes that about him. But I think the thing that people still really clamor about with Trubisky is that they still feel like there's untapped potential there for him. And I think that's really where the two sides, aka me and you, like completely go their separate ways. And I have no confidence that Trubisky is anything worth, a starting quarterback spot in the NFL. You, on the other hand, seem to think that, there's going to be a statue of him built right outside of Heinz Field, right next to Mr. Rooney, and probably Big Ben Roethlisberger. Nah, bro, you were on your way to pick up his jersey today. Come on.
Okay, so I have expectations for Mitchell Trubisky, maybe higher than most. But realistically, and I'm glad I put the normal glasses on for this because, I'm not Money Mitch right now. I'm just good old reasonable Noah.
Money Noah. Yep.
Money Noah. I have expectations for Mitchell Trubisky. I think that there is potential for him to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I look at guys. Carson Wentz is not a good quarterback. Teams would take him and think maybe this guy could lead us to a Super Bowl if we build everything around him. Jimmy Garoppolo, terrible quarterback. Teams hand him $28 million and say, yeah, well, maybe he could lead us to a quarterback. He has led teams or a team to the quarterback. There are a bunch of guys like that. Tyler Heineke, did I say that last name right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Started for the Washington football team last season, had no business being a starting quarterback in the NFL. Baker Mayfield is a terrible quarterback. He was the first overall pick. Look, I don't expect Mitchell Trubisky to be a star. I don't expect Mitchell Trubisky to be the next, Ben Roethlisberger or fill Big Ben's shoes or anything. I think that right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers' best option going into this season is to have a quality bridge quarterback. And at no point throughout Mason Rudolph's career have I ever looked at him and said, that guy is a bridge quarterback. Never. He'd lead you to 4 or 5 wins max. I think Trubisky with a good team around him might lead you to 10, 11 wins. Might not win you a Super Bowl, but he keeps the hope alive at least. And that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for. It also removes some pressure because I think that before Trubisky, the Steelers looked at this offseason and they said, if we don't get a quarterback in free agency, a decent one, we have to use a high draft pick on a quarterback. Yeah. Have to. Now I think they're just looking at it just like, well, Trubisky's got more potential than Rudolph, so at least it gives us a year.
Do you think people, and I'm not talking about you, do you think other people in Pittsburgh are excited for Trubisky because, one, he's not Mason Rudolph, and two, we haven't really seen him play in a year, and there's that kind of prospect of, oh, hey, he sat behind Josh Allen. He went to the Bills. The Bills had nothing but good things to say about him. Do you think people are kind of like prisoners to, oh, this guy is not Mason Rudolph, therefore he's going to be, a really good quarterback for us?
Yeah, I do think people are prisoner to that. Now, at the same time, I'm not taking anything that the Bills say at all. Like any team's going to hype
Oh,
up their backup quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers hype up Mason Rudolph. And the Pittsburgh Steelers hyped up Dwayne Haskins. Ben Roethlisberger was sitting around going, that guy's got potential. No, he does not. Mason Rudolph has a clear lead above Dwayne Haskins, and that says as much as anybody needs to hear. That being said, I think that at one point in his career, Trubisky showed a lot of potential to be a middle ground quarterback, which for half the teams in the NFL, that's all you could get. You're not going to always get a Ben Roethlisberger. I also think that the Matt Nagy effect is real. I think that a bad coach can ruin a quarterback. It depends on how bad he ruined him. I think that there is potential that he is ruined for his whole career and that he never gets any better. But I also think that with a guy like Mike Tomlin and Danny Sullivan, maybe there's potential that he grows a little bit. Maybe. It's a maybe.
I am 100% with you on the whole Matt Nagy thing, but you have to remember the kind of offense that Trubisky is walking into in Pittsburgh and who is running that offense in Pittsburgh. Matt Canada, we were in Mobile, and we heard from multiple people in the league that were shocked, flabbergasted, bamboozled even, that Matt Canada was still on a payroll for an NFL team, which says a lot about Matt Canada and not in the good way. So that doesn't necessarily give me hope for Trubisky. I think at this point, it is what it is. And I feel like the Steelers kind of look at it like that as well. Like they knew they weren't going to swing for the fences. They also knew that, whether or not they liked it, the two rookie quarterbacks they probably would have liked the draft may not have been there for them at 20. I don't think they were looking to kind of give up the draft capital and move up. Trubisky, I mean, it is what it is. I've slandered the dude for a very, very long time. But, the reality is that he's in Pittsburgh. And, I said the same thing for Mason Rudolph. So I'm going to say the same thing for Mitch Trubisky. I mean, if that dude strapped out on the field for week one, you got to root for him. If you're a rational Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you do not want that guy to do bad. Like, it makes no sense to root for the guy, especially playing quarterback of all positions. You need that guy to do pretty okay. So you know what, Trubisky, if he's the guy, which, I mean, he very much should be with the price tag that he's coming with and all the expectations that he has, go for it.
Steel Bitsky's here to stay, baby. Now, let me address a couple of things here before we dive a little deeper into the Steelers quarterback situations, other offseason signings. One, the Matt Canada thing. I also think that this is a perfect situation for Matt Canada. A lot of people are like, oh, you're telling me that Matt Canada is going to teach Mitchell Trubisky better than Matt Nagy did, blah, blah, blah. No, not at all. But what I am saying is that we all can agree that Matt Canada is a terrible offensive coordinator, doesn't have any business being on the Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff. So if he's going to get fired, you might as well let him get fired with Mitchell Trubisky instead of ruining a year or two with a brand new quarterback that you actually have high hopes for. Or you get stuck in another situation where Deshaun Watson is here, Jimmy Garoppolo is here, Carson Wentz is here, Malik Willis is here, Kenny Pickett is here, and they're good enough to make this team a contender, and you're Randy Fichtner for the next 10 years. That's what they're looking at. I think Mitchell Trubisky puts Matt Canada right in the hot seat and says, hey, you could either earn your money or you could show us that you don't belong in the NFL. It's up to you. And I think that, that's another perfect bridge. The Steelers need to cleanse it, and they need to see what they need to cleanse. Matt Canada's right at the top of that list. Don't ruin a quarterback on him. Don't get stuck with him. Let Mitchell see what he can do.
Now, doesn't mean when it comes to other quarterback situations, and sorry if I'm jumping the gun here, there was a lot of steam for Watson to Pittsburgh, but I mean, it really looked like that steam came from Watson's camp. More so than the Steelers side of thing, which is very odd that Deshaun wanted to go to Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh did not want Deshaun to go to Pittsburgh. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I thought that was very strange. Me being the kind of person to almost will that into existence the last couple of weeks on the podcast. I was just kind of taken back by that, but like I get it, especially with like everything going on with him. Maybe the Steelers didn't want that all over again. Maybe they felt like they would rather roll the dice on a feature quarterback in the upcoming NFL drafts rather than go and get Deshaun Watson, who he is 26. I get it, and like they just signed a 26 Mitch Trubisky, but that was a small 2-year deal. I mean, the financials on his deal are peanuts compared to a guy like Deshaun Watson. I mean, were the Steelers ever really going to sign Watson? Were they ever really interested in drafting Willis or Pickett? I mean, like it feels like everything that we've been talking about the last months has just kind of crumbled with the news of Mitchell Trubisky and them being signed. I guess my ultimate question is, do you think quarterback's out of play for the Steelers early in the draft?
I personally do. But I've been pushing that for a long time now. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I've said this many times before, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers' plan of attack is sign Mitchell Trubisky or a guy like Mitchell Trubisky, head into the draft with 3 guys that you don't feel really good about, but don't feel real bad about. And then you don't have to waste an early draft pick on a quarterback. That being said, they will likely use, I would say, one of their top 3 picks on a quarterback. Maybe it's a Desmond Ridder. Maybe it's a Sam Howell. I would say those 2 might be their top option. A lot of other people are saying this is pushing the envelope for them to go and get Malik Willis, especially if a team like Carolina lands Deshaun Watson. I don't think it makes any sense. People are saying, oh, well, now you don't have to worry about Mitchell Trubisky or about Malik Willis starting because he could sit behind Mitchell Trubisky and there's not really that much pressure. If that was the thought, force him behind Mason Rudolph. Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert and Art Rooney can care less if the fans are booing on Sundays. All they care about is winning and developing a team for now and the future. Mitchell Trubisky, I think, is more of like maybe this could work out. We fully understand that this draft class is not very good when it comes to the quarterback position. We might as well just hold off for at least another year or deeper into the draft. And then next year, if the quarterback situation is Mitchell Trubisky, a guy like Desmond Ridder, and then your first round quarterback, I mean, that's a much, much better situation to be in if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers.